friends, welcome to the All Canadian Reptile Girl. I'm Annalise, official mediator between snakes and grandmas since 2019. And today we are tackling an important question that many of us snake parents must address at some point, either for ourselves or when trying to help a fellow snake caretaker. And that question is, how do I convince my grandma that my ball python isn't secretly plotting to murder me in my sleep and/or eat me? Let's talk about where those fears come from, what's true, what's not, and why your scaly noodle is not the cold-blooded killer your gam gam mima or nana thinks it is. Okay, maybe it's not grandma in your case, maybe it's a parent or a granddad or an aunt, uncle, sibling, friend, roommate, landlord, neighbor, whatever. Someone you know. Maybe it's not a ball python in your scenario. Maybe it's a corn snake or a rat snake or sand boa or regular boa. But you know, the title and the thumbnail gotta be clicky, right? Yeah, so for the purposes of this video, we will keep it to grandmas and ball pythons. I mean, ball pythons are the most common and popular pet snake, and that python name sure does carry some stigma, yeah? And who loves and worries about you more than your grandma? Great grandma, in my case that I call grandma. Hi, Pat. It can be applied to anyone and any snake. Ball pythons, grandmas, you get it. Point is, if you've ever brought a snake into your home, chances are at least one family member or friend or acquaintance has had a little freak out and decided that they have an obligation to educate you on the many, many perils you now face by bringing such a monster into your home. And if your grandma has ever read a Facebook post with the words, "My friend's cousin's vet said," then oh boy, she probably has some thoughts for ya. Okay, we have to start here. The legendary sizing you up story. You know the one. It goes something like this. This woman slept with her pet python, but then the snake stopped eating and started stretching out along her body at night. And then she got the shocking truth from her vet, or her friend's cousin's vet. And it turns out it was starving itself and measuring her up to eat her. Unbelievable! This story pops up all the time like a bad rash, but guess what? If you saw this video or you have done any meaningful research on snakes, you would already know that that is 100% fake. Urban legend never even happened. There's zero documented evidence of any snake doing this. Not ball pythons, not corn snakes, not even the big guys like retics, sperms, or anacondas. Not only is there no evidence of this, but even as a concept, it doesn't pass any kind of sniff test when you really think about it. It makes no sense for a snake to forgo eating an available meal in front of them in order to starve themselves in preparation for a big meal that might not even exist when they finally measure up to it. That would be like me fasting for a month so I could eat an entire horse all at once. I don't have a horse, but if one presents itself to me, I want to be ready. See, it makes no sense. Also, sometimes ball pythons do stop eating. But that's usually because they think it's cold and they don't want to eat because it's winter and they are doing like a thing. It's normal. Oh, and also, how exactly is a snake supposed to get big enough if they're starving themselves? How do you think snakes grow? They eat. The whole thing is biologically and logically absurd. Also, snakes don't eat people. They just don't. Yes, there are a very small number of instances in the last 100 years where, despite 1 in a billion odds, a massive wild snake has managed to eat a tiny someone. I mean, tiny in stature, not, tiny in importance to their family or community or themselves, just to be clear. Just meant in physical build. But to say that snakes eat people as a general statement is categorically and demonstrably false. I've talked about this before. There are dozens, hundreds, heck, maybe even thousands of documented cases of people being eaten by rats, cats, pigs, and even dogs. But when you tell someone that you have a schnauzer, no one looks at you horrified and says, "Dogs eat people, you know. You should be careful." But snakes, oh yeah, they love snacking on folks. Just all that they do. It's silly, right? My go-to analogy here is that saying that snakes eat people because in certain specific, very rare scenarios that snakes actually manage to eat someone is like saying bears ride bicycles because you saw a video of a bear riding one at a circus once. Just because it might, could, possibly, but really unlikely to, but can technically happen, does not mean that it's par for the course. So no, snakes don't intentionally starve themselves in order to eat something bigger, and snakes don't really see people as food. But let's talk about the sizing up bit. Story time. If this sounds familiar, you've heard it in another video. Cambodia. The jungle. It's hot, humid, alive with the sounds of animals everywhere. Imagine, if you will, that you are a giant Burmese python living in this lush forest. You never know when your next meal is going to come along, so your entire survival hinges on your ability to be able to quickly and efficiently subdue prey when you encounter it. With that in mind, you found the perfect spot by a log on a game trail to lay in wait. After a day or so, a little deer finally strolls by. In a flash, you immediately launch into action, moving your enormous, powerful body with lightning speed to stretch out next to the deer and confirm that you are, in fact, long enough to eat it. Great news. It's small enough, you're big enough, it's chow time, my little chili baby. So, you recoil up so you can unleash your aforementioned enormous, powerful body into a mighty strike and latch onto the first meal you've seen in weeks and... Oh, sorry, what's that? The deer's gone? Yeah. What? It left while you were stretched out, eh? Yeah. How about that? I wonder why that didn't work, and you're going hungry. That's weird. Did you stretch out all the way? Okay. And you were, in fact, big enough? Yeah. It just walked away? It didn't wait for you to coil back up? Wow, I don't know. I'm stymied. Can't think of a reason why you're not enjoying a post-meal nap right now. Guess you got a snake better, pal. Snakes, despite popular belief, are very smart and can learn, reason, and adapt. But they really aren't planners that way. They're opportunistic hunters that will strike at prey when it's there. They don't size things up the way the myth describes. If a snake thinks that something is an appropriate meal based on scent, chemical cues, visual assessment, and or through the use of heat pits, it acts immediately. Sometimes it does get it wrong and needs to abandon a potential meal because it was too big, but usually they get it done. They're kind of built that way. No scheming, no calculations, no spreadsheets. They act and they eat. If they don't act, they starve. Now, because we're using ball pythons as our stand-in for pet snakes in general, let's talk ball pythons to get a beat on their true threat level. A species literally named for what they do when they are scared. When ball pythons are threatened or otherwise feel unsafe, they viciously curl into a ball. Yeah, in a land where lions, hyenas, and leopards roam, well, or more accurately, used to roam, humans have done a number on the wildlife populations in West Africa. In that land, the best ball pythons could come up with to avoid being eaten. A soccer ball impression. Not much of a threat to anything, really, and certainly not dangerous apex man-eating predator material. They are non-venomous, docile. See? He's a sweetheart. Their teeth are razor sharp, but kind of tiny. They're meant for eating rodents and small animals, not really for deeply piercing human skin. If your ball python bites you, and it probably won't, but if it does, it's usually a case of mistaken identity. You smell like food, or you're moving too fast, or they're just stressed. If they do tag you, the injury is about as bad as scratching yourself with a wire brush. An infection from a bite from a snake is possible, but pretty unlikely. The bacteria usually found in their mouth does not do great in warm-blooded animals, so it's not much of a risk there. And any risk that is there is easily mitigated by a little soap and water. Bottom line is, ball pythons can't hurt you in any meaningful way and have killed exactly 0 people. Let me repeat that for your grandma. Not my great-grandma, she already knows this. There are 0 documented deaths from ball python bites or constriction. Not in the wild, not in a zoo, and not in anyone's home. 0. In fact, you are more likely to be injured by your own dog, your toaster, toilet, or statistically, your own couch. Okay, you might be asking, what about the big snakes? You said yourself, Annalise, that there have been cases of people being killed by big snakes. What if I have a big boa, or a retic, or a berm, or an anaconda? Surely my grandma is right to be worried then. Well, yeah, I can understand that a bit. I mean, the risk factor certainly does go up, but really, the stats are overwhelmingly on your side here too. Yes, there have been fatalities involving really large constrictors, but those are, 1, extremely rare, and 2, almost always involve serious mishandling, poor housing, or human error, not because the snake had a hankering for human meat. In the US and Canada, over the past few decades, there have been a couple dozen fatal incidents involving large constrictors. Sad, no question. Oh, and if you're gonna jump into the comments about that incident in New Brunswick back in 2013 with the rock python and those 2 kids, just don't. That whole scenario is super fishy. So much about the official story makes no sense if you know anything about snake behavior or biology. It's either the weirdest series of unlikely flukes imaginable or something else. Anyway, a handful of fatalities from snakes over the decades compared to, just off the cuff here, over 4 million people, 4 million, bitten by dogs each year, of which almost 1 million require medical attention, and on average, about 50 end up being fatalities. More than 3/4 of those bites are from family pets or those that belong to friends. Oh, and to top it all off, most of those attacks are on kids.
Children, Jake. Weak little children.
Over 100,000 fatalities per year from accidental or preventable poisoning from household products. Over 31,000 deaths from trips and or falls in the home. Pick up your laundry, folks. How about 300 people are hit by lightning per year? On average, about 20 of them don't make it. Dad?
Yes?
Does that number surprise you? I thought being hit by lightning was a surefire trip to the underside of the lawn.
I kind of did too.
Huh. I wonder how many get superpowers. Now, we don't ban dogs, household clutter, thunderstorms, or Windex. So maybe let's panic just a little less over snakes. Just saying. So this is great and all, but how do you talk to Grandma about this? Well, I suggest gently, respectfully, and maybe with a warm cup of tea and some Fig Newtons or some hard candy or mints that have fused in the bowl into one super big candy. Here's the key. Be curious about why she feels this way and acknowledge her fears. They come from a place of love and Facebook and or daytime TV. Share real facts. Start simple with things like, Grandma, my ball python is more likely to hide in their log than try to eat me. Then use that to talk a bit more about behavior, biology. Listen to her questions and address them calmly. Remember, her concern comes from a place of love, and there is a ton of fear-mongering about snakes that have cemented her opinions. It may be hard to shake. Be kind and be patient. Tell her that you're being responsible. Explain the precautions you take, explain that you know how to read your snake's body language and what you look for, that you provide proper housing and that you are socializing them properly and you wash your hands before and after handling. All that. Share with her some resources or offer to watch videos together about snakes. Channels like mine, Clint's Reptiles, Wiccans, or Snake Discovery. Emily was huge in helping my mom get over her fear of snakes. Introduce her to your snake. Now, don't just walk in the room with your snake without warning, and don't force her to meet your snake if she isn't ready. Give her a heads up, right? Don't just surprise her, that can do more damage. And it's just not nice. Letting her see how calm and gentle they really are can help a ton. I've done a lot of live shows, and there is almost always someone, one of the kids, or a parent that's watching from the back, one of the teachers or camp counselors. There's always someone who is terrified of snakes. And if I can get that person to just touch one with just one finger, 99% of the time, they progress to holding their tail, which progresses to holding the whole snake, which progresses to holding a bigger snake, which progresses to, can I take Hobbs home with me? That's my glasses, thank you. I'm not joking. This happens almost every show. Some folks refuse to touch and never go through that journey, and that's a-okay. But if I can convince them to just do this, we're golden. Touch and connection is such a powerful tool to gain understanding and dissolve fear, and it's amazing to watch. And hey, if Grandma's still not on board, that's okay. It may take a few tries, and even then, not everyone has to love snakes. But at least now, oh, I'll do that again. But at least now, hopefully, she can relax a little and trust that you are safe. So there you have it. I hope this helps you reassure your grandma or other important person in your life that your ball python or other pet snake is not the monster that they think they are. If you've had to win over a skeptical family member, drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear what worked and what definitely didn't. And if you're a grandma watching this, I promise your grandkid with a pet snake is probably 100% safe. Unless they also leave their laundry everywhere, that might actually kill them. Thank you all for watching. As always, an extra special thanks to my intelligent, good-looking, sophisticated friends on Patreon. Here's a few now. The support I get from my patrons is why I'm able to keep doing this, and I can't thank them enough. Head on over to patreon.com/allcanadianreptilegirl to see how you too can support my channel. I really appreciate it. I think that covers it. No, it doesn't. Like and subscribe and all of that fun YouTube-y stuff. Click all the buttons that you have to click, but not the mean one. That one's sad. YouTube thinks you'll like this video next. I'll put it here. They think you'll like this. So you should see if they're right. Go check it out. I've been Annalise, official snake advocate and grandma whisperer, reminding you and your grandma to nurture all nature. Bye!